SNAP benefits for millions of Americans are hanging in the balance as the USDA threatens to cut off food assistance funding to more than 20 Democratic-led states in a showdown over sensitive personal data. The fight pits state privacy concerns against a federal push to root out what the Trump administration calls waste, fraud, and abuse. If blue states don't comply, SNAP benefits for over 42 million Americans could be on the line. Most in the program are at or below the poverty line and in households that include children, seniors, or someone with a disability. This all comes as new rules are now in effect for SNAP beneficiaries that mean more people will have to work or volunteer in order to get benefits. Let's get some insight by turning to Gina Platanino, SNAP Director at the Food Research and Action Center. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins promising big changes to SNAP says all the attention during the recent government shutdown has given the government a platform to completely deconstruct the program, in her words. What does that mean to you?
It means that they're posturing. It's a lot of propaganda in terms of them not taking responsibility that for the first time in history, SNAP benefits did not go out in time. SNAP is the most regulated program that we have in the federal government. So it's just really, it's not surprising that the secretary is saying this, considering their actions in November.
Then if that's the case, then why are specifically these blue Democrat states, why are they objecting to just a simple audit? If this is a heavily regulated program, there's no fraud, there's no waste and abuse. There aren't any illegals without citizenship receiving benefits intended for Americans with disabilities or who are experiencing hard times. Then why do you not want to give over the records? There's no way you can say that we have a program, but we don't want you to confirm that the people receiving the benefits are those who they are intended for. We need these records to do an audit. If everything's on the up and up, what are you hiding? This is not sensitive information. You go to the DMV and apply for a license. That's the same type of data that we're going to need. We need to know who's in these households, what programs they're applying for, how old are they, their gender, and where they were born. Those are questions that must be answered. The problem is this: there's so much fraud in these programs. There's so many people's pockets being padded with these dollars that were pretty much flowing unregulated that they cannot afford to give that up. They already lost USAID. They already lost all of their little black market funding that they were getting when they were stealing from the COVID and the PPP. This is one of their last strong sources of free money. There is so much rampant fraud all over this country. This was going to have to happen eventually, one way or another, either today or in the future, but it should have already happened by now. We're, like Donald Trump said, we're going to have to experience some temporary pain for some long-term results. And if that means cutting the fat and making people angry because you're knocking their hustle and you're pretty much removing their fraud scheme, then so be it. I mean, think about it. We just found out that in the state of Minnesota, under Waltz, who we're sure was aware of this, and so was Omar, the Somalian population defrauded the government for billions. Do you know how much $1 billion is? It's like $1 million times 1,000. And they were, using fraudulent programs for kids with autism and all these different things, right? The money was going to these individuals. They were laundering the money back to a terror organization in Somalia. The fact is this: there's no rift in the Somalia community of Somalians saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't fund terrorists back home when we left there, versus those that are saying, yeah, we should. They're all together. That's why the collective punishment and them being removed altogether makes sense. We're not going to be able to say, well, these are good Somalis, these are bad. No, they're all still under the terrorist organization that runs Somalia. They still all live under those same rules here in America. It's just an extension. They're not assimilating and being a part of the fabric of the United States. So that's just one example. And now we have 20 other states that are expecting to get money but we can't ask questions about where the money's going. Absolutely unacceptable.
President Trump says he will withhold SNAP benefits for people in California if officials don't hand over potentially sensitive data, such as the names and immigration status of recipients. The Agriculture Secretary says data revealed by 29 states recently showed 186,000 people who've died are still receiving food aid and some 356,000 duplicate enrollments. Do you?
Now, you see, that's where I have a huge issue. For all these people that are receiving benefits, can't you track where the benefits are going exactly? Or are they just showing up on a card, but do you need an ID when you use the card? Or do you just need a PIN? Excuse me, I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. But they have to get a hold on this. But to say almost 200,000 dead people are still receiving benefits, and you mean to tell me there's no way to cut them off? You know, regular Americans had no idea that you could really scam the government like this. These are all illegals that are coming over here taking advantage, and high up government officials that are working with them. Like I always say, they will do anything to buy the votes of these illegals. They have literally replaced entire communities. I was watching in a video today where there was an illegal. They were like, yeah, I have 3 jobs. And I was like, if I do the math correctly, that's 3 jobs that 3 different Americans could have had. We don't have any spare jobs or spare opportunities. Everything in this country is meant for us. We're not going to their country, taking their jobs. We have our own responsibilities here. When you're on an airplane and they give you the instructions, you have to secure the mask over your face first before you can help anyone else. And right now, this plane is crashing and we must protect ourselves first. To hear that they knowingly have this much fraud happening in these states, but pretending there's nothing they can do about it, why not just shut off the cards? But I guess that's what Trump is doing now with these audits. Everyone's going to have to come in and reapply. And if you don't qualify, you're done. But like, for example, I remember the Katrina people from New Orleans. I remember a lot of them moved to Houston, and their number one complaint was, what do you mean we have to apply and we have to be looking for a job? Because in New Orleans, they just give us money every month with no questions asked indefinitely. You don't have to apply. You don't have to be looking for a job. You don't have to be disabled. Actually, by saying that you're Black, that was being used for a lot of people as a mental disability. A lot of people don't know that. Actually, the auto pen justice, Ketanji Jackson, she's even one of those people that have said being Black is a handicap. It's a disability. And unfortunately, they look at it that way. So that's why they can justify scamming the system, even when they're able-bodied and healthy. But the rest of the country, obviously people like myself, we disagree. You are going to have to show proof that you're looking to better yourself, that you are actually working or doing volunteer work. We can't just enable you to not work forever, because that would be akin to slavery. Giving away free government benefits like food and shelter is one step away from living on a plantation where the owner of the plantation, the master, would would let you eat for free and live for free. All you had to do is tend to the crops on the plantation. Sure, these people aren't tending the crops, but they're tending to the congressional seats and to the voter rolls for Democrats in these areas. So instead of picking produce or picking cotton, they're picking Democrats for you to vote for in exchange for free food and free housing. It's slavery. It is slavery. And these people have been on these systems begging and living off the government since, the Martin Luther King days, when he decided to convince everybody to become a statist and that the state should handle your problems and they owe you. Ever since then, these communities have been completely dependent upon the government, and there's no end in sight. There's no one that's planning on getting off of the system. And if they're caught frauding the system, there's not even any punishment. So there's no incentive for them to get off. There's really no reason to just give away free money, to give up free money. So I think that's causing a huge problem also.
Agree with the mission of ending fraud and abuse?
Absolutely. The biggest fraud that we have in SNAP is something called skimming, where we have criminals stealing the benefits of individuals who rely on these benefits. But in terms of the data that you just mentioned, it hasn't been validated, and we don't know where those numbers are coming from, which it really doesn't capture what states are reporting.
So other than going after criminals who are skimming, how does the country make sure that people who are receiving the benefits should be receiving the benefits?
SNAP is the most regulated program that we have in terms of quality control. Individuals have to fill out an application that is quite lengthy, providing information. Once they submit that application, they have to do an interview. Once they do an interview, they have to submit a verification. Once they do that and their case is adjusted, they have to do ongoing reviews to ensure that the information hasn't changed. All of this is validated, checking social security numbers, checking employment numbers, and that information is collected by the state agency to see if there are any changes.
So what's falling apart then if the federal government says almost 200,000 people who've died are still receiving aid?
That information hasn't been validated. We don't know where those numbers have come from, as USDA has refused to say where they're coming with this information. We don't necessarily think that that is true, considering the 60 plus years that USDA has been operating this program with state agencies. That data is not accurate. So it'll be interesting to see if the USDA actually releases where they're getting this information.
Do you think there's anyone who's receiving benefits who shouldn't be?
The way that it works is that individuals cannot receive benefits if they are getting benefits elsewhere. They have to close the case. So sometimes it may appear, but like I said, there are so many ways that state agencies are constantly monitoring this, both automatically and physically, in terms of coming out with individuals who are getting benefits. It automatically flags it for them to ensure that the program is operating correctly.
I imagine this recent threat by the president to withhold aid for California may put those who are receiving aid and rightfully receiving that aid in a precarious position.
Well, it's not new, right? So this stems out from an executive order that the president issued out in February, that he wanted more data into these programs, and USDA went ahead and issued this request, which was, again, unprecedented because they already have systems in place to be able to do this.
I call bullshit. For one thing, as an American, you can verify my identity. You know who I am. I have a birth certificate from here, right? When it comes to these people that are scamming the system, these illegals, you can't verify their identity. They can just make up a name, come across the border, and just go by that name and then apply for benefits. But you don't even know. What if they make up 2 or 3 other names as well? There's no way for you to verify who this person is, where they came from. You're not doing fingerprint checks. You're not doing criminal background checks. They don't check nothing. You just fill out paperwork. And I think these people get a cut out of what they're giving all these people. And that's another reason why they have an incentive to continue the fraud and not to put a stop to it. You can tell this woman is uninterested in getting to the truth. She doesn't care if they're defrauding the American people. Her background and her loyalty is to another country, likely a country south of the border. They're not patriots. They just have jobs. They're draining the country. They're using the country up, and then they toss it away. Their loyalty, their allegiance is to another nation, not to us, not to our country, not to our republic, which creates a conflict of interest because, well, how am I supposed to trust that you're going to look out for us the right way? She's actually saying that, well, we don't know where the federal government's getting their numbers. They're the government. They're the ones in charge of the numbers. We don't know where you're getting your numbers. You can't audit the government. We do the auditing. We're auditing you. You're on notice. And guess what? If you don't pass the audit, you don't come off the data, then your programs are shut down indefinitely and you have no one to blame but yourself. This is a genius move by Trump. Put the ball in their court and let them screw themselves over.
There was 2 lawsuits, one a private lawsuit, another one for state agencies. There is currently an injunction, a hold on this, where the judge says that USDA cannot do this at the moment. We know that they're going back to court next week from the new request that USDA made.
I'm also tired of hearing about these judges. The judges do not control the government. Judges do not constrain the president. Judges are to adjudicate cases with the public. But if you think about it, a judge is just a person with a robe. A judge doesn't have an army, doesn't have a police force. A judge can't even enforce any of their own rulings. They depend on men like myself to do it. But our loyalty, again, is to the republic, to our government, to our president. A judge cannot tell a president what to do. So everybody that keeps leaning on these judges, these ideologue leftist judges who are only put in place to obstruct Trump and the America First agenda, you're wasting your time. We don't listen to the judges. The judges were only put there to slow us down, and we're not going to let them do that. Judges have really no say-so when it comes to this.
November, saying that they needed to again submit this data.
If you had the governor's ear, would you suggest that the state not reveal this data, even if it means people lose their benefits?
There are 3 different levels of laws currently protecting this information. USDA has been sending the information that they need. There's no guarantee that the federal government has a place to.
I'm sorry. If your information is so sensitive that you don't want to share it with the government, then don't ask the government for money for food. Period. Problem solved. If your privacy is that important, stop begging. If you don't want to give the government your information because you're the one asking, the government's not asking you for food. You're asking them, and you're asking taxpayers like myself to pay for it. If your information is so valuable, then don't beg for the government and go feed yourself, and then you don't have to worry about being transparent. But you're not going to be able to have it both ways. Well, I want you to give us money, but I also don't want you to ask me who I am or where it's going. You don't get the fuck out of here.
Really capture sensitive data. It's millions of individuals, and to have state agencies go through all of this work at a time where, due to the administration's inaction, they had to scramble to try to issue benefits on time and then recalculate benefits. It's just administrative burden. And how can you trust an administration that, the 95-year-old's information that is being sent over is going to be safe? There's no guarantee that the administration will keep this information safe, including social security number, date of births, anything that could be causing for identity theft. And this is everyone, and it's millions of cases. So it's, we teach individuals to hold your information and share it. And the way that states have traditionally sent it is, they send it in a way.
Bro, this lady is just vomiting on her microphone. She shouldn't even be up there. The bottom line is this. You can't go somewhere and ask for a loan, and then they say, okay, we need you to fill out an application. And you go, wait a minute. You want me to put my information down? I just want the money. I don't want you to know where I'm at or who I am. Matter of fact, how about this? If you're so distrusting of this government where you're scared to give over your personal information, why do you live in this country? Why not go live somewhere that you deem trustworthy? Why not move to Canada or Mexico? Or you have 190 other countries to choose from. If you're that paranoid, don't forget, your ID comes from the government. So does your passport. So does, when you apply for a mortgage or when you're registering for anything, they know who you are. They just have to verify that you're eligible for these benefits. It's called an audit. It's called being transparent. If you're that scared of this government, move to a country that you trust. Why are you forcing yourself to be here? Do better.
20 Democratic-led states in a showdown over sensitive
administration that, the 95-year-old's information that is being sent over is going to be safe. There's no guarantee that the administration will keep this information safe, including social security number, date of births, anything that could be causing for identity theft. And this is everyone, and it's millions of cases. So it's, we teach individuals to hold your information and share it. And the way that states have traditionally sent it is, they send it in a way that is private and secure. What the administration is requiring, again, it's unprecedented in the last 60 years.
Okay, well, watch what happens.
She sounds like one of these idiot people that when they get pulled over by the police, they call 911. It's like the police that you're calling, the 911 they're already pulling you over. They're already there. How are you going to say you don't trust the government when your information, when it's literally the government that generates and gives you your information? You are a scammer. You just don't want to be caught. And listening to these people scramble I'm just so glad that we're not buying their BS anymore and their tears don't matter. You are going to comply. And guess what? You're going to find out in these blue states, the only people that are going to comply are going to be Americans. The illegals are going to be scared and they're going to get caught. It's only going to be the Americans that actually need it. And guess what? The Americans who need it, if they find out their benefits are being held up because these politicians in these blue states are so worried about their illegals getting their money, they are going to turn on them like rabid dogs. Just watch. Because when it comes down to Americans, our bottom line is number one. We are not going to take food out of our mouths because of some illegals or because of some other random people. No. Our priorities are first. And it's going to come down to that. And you're going to watch. These people are going to have to eat their words. Like and subscribe, share the video. I'll be back on live in a few minutes. Sorry, I've been off for a couple of days. I was a little under the weather. It's like hella cold out here. But do me a favor and remember, America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.